wholeheartedly agree that we absolutely and definitively need a political force that is 100% committed to the dignity of human beings, human rights, social justice and equality. We do need to look back to look forward and to harness the spirit and practice of the Communist Party, particularly during that era. It was just amazing, and that movie was fabulous. So we need to reinvigorate and renew this spirit of struggle and practice. I'm a community mental health worker, and so my work is actually working in social justice and equity. I'm not part of mental health services. I run an independent program that I've developed with a colleague, and it's very much focused on social justice and the right to work. Mental health is an area where people are most marginalised from the employment sector, and unemployment is absolutely rife. And it's the way our society is structured and the workplace that shuts out this sector of our community. So that's where I work independently in a program trying to address that sort of thing, particularly in work as a right, so not and just welfare. Part of the program was also because of the yawning gap in funding and also in mainly policy from government. It is a topical theme at the moment because the government is actually talking about it, and Liberals crapping on about the billions they're going to put into it, and Labor's actually saying they won't agree to it because, you know, they have to be taken from other health areas, which is what Abbott's kind of primarily doing. I'd like to also say that what Abbott's saying is a load of rubbish because the adverse outcomes, the statistical outcomes for people with mental health haven't actually occurred over the last 2 years, 3 years of Labor. It's decades of inaction and inequality on the part of government policy. So it's both of those parties that have contributed to that statistical outcome for not only that group but any other group experience depression or negative statistical outcomes like our Aboriginal brothers and sisters as well. So it is a matter of policy. I'm also a unionist, as Elizabeth said, and I worked on the pay equity campaign since it began in, I think, 07 or 08. So it's my work and my unionism and my fundamental values and beliefs that brought me to the Socialist Alliance. And I can say from my involvement with the Alliance that it is a party that supports progressive parties, any progressive parties, and also working with these in promoting justice principles and human dignity, and 100% commitment to developing a political force committed to these principles. And that has to be done through an anti-capitalist party, and I think that film just shows that, you know, what Fred's saying is that the only way forward is anti-capitalism. We have to take back our public ownership of big industry and infrastructure. And I don't need to preach to converted because I think most people here are probably of that mind. So that's particularly for the mining sector, and that was brought up with Labor with the resource and super profits tax, and of course they didn't go far enough. So we should be using any and all profit for human services and to fund the transition to the renewable energy sector. So as I'm pretty sure everyone here would be aware, capitalism is a cyclical force that goes that has its economic and productive ups and downs. So we can be guaranteed those crises will continue. And particularly since the ramifications of the global financial crisis probably haven't been fully felt yet, and they probably will get worse, if not another crisis. So it was interesting to note that it was the Great Depression that saw, around that era, and particularly the Great Depression that saw the growth of the Communist Party, and they were able to harness that time and reach the message to other people about the nature of capitalism. It comes down to the core nature of capitalism and the barbarity of it in relation to human rights and dignity and respect and justice, and that of the ruling class. And for people seeing the need for something better. We are also obviously heading into that kind of era again. So it's an opportunity on the one hand for progressive movements now to be working together to jump onto that and start really putting that message out. So we probably did become a little bit complacent, and the struggle probably lost a bit of momentum from the earlier struggles of that era. because of the prosperity of World War II, which we're all quite aware of. We do need to remind ourselves now that now is the time we need to start working really hard, because that era of prosperity is coming to an end. Prices are increasing, and even two-income families are struggling. And there are people now who will never own a home, and I'm probably one of them. I'm a homeless tenant myself, and I'm reaching that income threshold where I'm going to get kicked out. Mind you, I'm also a casual employee because of the program that I run. So I go from funding plot to funding plot. I don't get paid in holidays, so I'm facing this precarious housing situation where they're going to tell me to get out of my house. And so that's what capitalism does. What the welfare state does, it gives this sort of wet liberalism that sort of says, that kind of tries to patch up the very, very bottom. But if you start to make inroads into getting something secure and comfortable for yourself, well, you're out the door and back on your ass again. And I'm facing potential homelessness or in and out of homelessness myself. So anyway, the other, and as are lots of people, the other significant crisis now is climate change. And there's absolutely, we know without doubt, there's no way that the market mechanisms of capitalism can address that. Firstly, because it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money, because our energy sector is fossil fuel driven. So it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money, therefore it has to be public investment, and it has to stay in public hands as well. The capitalists aren't going to invest in this because there's no short-term profits. Even though there'll be savings in the long term, that doesn't mean much to them. They want profits because they're a greedy bunch. So that needs to be in public hands, and it needs to be about equality, so in jobs, because it will create tens of thousands of jobs, in energy production and accessing affordable clean energy, in eliminating pollution, and it must be publicly owned, initiated and directed. And I guess that's another thing too, because so many of our wars are about resources, like Afghanistan. So if we're leading in the technologies of renewable energy, well, therefore we won't need to be going to war about resources. So for me, the history of the Communist Party, this really brief sort of jump into looking at it, has shown me the kind of fighting leadership in people like Fred Patterson, and also in the struggle to support the rights of the unemployed, working class, the immigrant workers, and for Aboriginal rights, as we saw towards the end as well. And as that lady was saying at the end, the Communist Party has influenced Australia for the better. And I think for the Socialist Alliance, that's I like to think that we identify with that fighting spirit, and we're dedicated to replicate the same spirit and fight and move into the future, and an aligned progressive movement to fight those forces, because I want to stay housed.